Chronicles of the Grim Reaper. The Reunion by Griz Calderon. Charlie was named after his father, Charles, making him the second in his family to bear the name, officially known as Charles II. However, everyone simply called him Charlie, just like his dad. As the cherished only child in a small, close-knit family, Charlie thrived on the love and attention of his parents. In the quiet town they called home, life moved at a gentle pace, a welcome contrast to the rush and chaos of city life. This slower, more intimate way of living was something Charlie and his parents cherished deeply. Charlie's father was a truck driver, navigating the vast highways that crisscrossed state lines, transporting cargo from one corner of the country to another. It was a demanding job, filled with long hours and the constant awareness that any mistake could be catastrophic. But Charlie's father was meticulous, always cautious, always alert. He knew that his safe return home was everything to his wife and son. Charlie idolized his father, hanging on every word of the stories he would tell about his travels. Tales of endless roads, towering mountains, and open skies. Every morning his father left for a long haul. Charlie would shuffle out of bed, following him from room to room, begging to join him on his journeys. Charlie knew the answer, but figured he would ask anyway. Although he couldn't go, his father's vivid storytelling made Charlie feel as if he were right there, sitting in the passenger seat beside him, experiencing every sight and sound of the road. One day, their world was shattered by an unexpected blow. Charlie fell ill, an illness that began with mild symptoms but quickly escalated into something far more severe. Despite the doctor's best efforts, the diagnosis was terminal. Even as his condition worsened, Charlie continued to ask his father if he could accompany him on his trips, dreaming of the day he might finally get to see the world outside his small town. But his father knew that day would never come. He kept the stories alive, adding even more detailed tales, knowing in his heart that Charlie would never experience those places himself. Charlie's father took on extra work, driving longer routes to pay the mounting medical bills. It broke his heart to be away from his ailing son, but he did what he had to do for his family. Meanwhile, Charlie's mother stayed by his side, her heart aching with every moment she watched her son weaken. One early morning, when the moon hung low in the sky, Charlie's father prepared for yet another long journey. He went through his routine, but something was different. The house was eerily quiet. Charlie, who usually dragged himself out of bed to see his father off, didn't appear. Concerned, his father climbed the stairs to Charlie's room. There, he found his son lying weakly in bed, too frail to move. The father sat beside him, gently pulling him into a hug. "I love you, boy," he whispered, trying to hold back the tears. Charlie, sensing his father's worry, reassured him with a faint smile. "I'll be okay, Dad. I can't wait to hear all about your trip when you get back." He hugged his father a little longer than usual, clinging to the warmth of his embrace. As his father walked out the door, Charlie whispered, "I love you, Dad," knowing deep down that this might be the last time. With a heavy heart, Charlie's father left for work. Every mile on the road felt longer than usual. He couldn't stop thinking about his son, so at every opportunity, he called home to check on him. Each time, his wife's voice was filled with the same sadness, but there was no new news. Charlie was holding on, but just barely. Then, as he approached the border of another state, his phone rang. His wife was on the other end, her voice choked with tears. "He's gone," she sobbed. "Our boy is gone." The news hit him like a ton of bricks. He pulled his truck over to the side of the road, unable to drive through the flood of emotions. Tears streamed down his face as he listened to his wife's sobs, feeling utterly helpless. The worst had happened, and he hadn't been there to say goodbye. They laid Charlie to rest in a small, peaceful cemetery. The funeral was quiet, attended only by close family. The pain of losing his only son was unbearable. But after everyone left, Charlie's father stayed behind. He sat beside Charlie's grave, telling him all about his trip, just as he would have if Charlie had been waiting for him at home. It was his way of saying goodbye, of making it home to his son. Returning to the routine, he felt Charlie's absence in every corner of the house. Still, each morning before he left, he would go upstairs, sit on the bed where Charlie had spent his final months, and talk to him as if he were still there. When he returned from work trips, he would do the same, recounting every detail of the journey, just as he had always done. In those moments, he could almost feel Charlie's presence, as if his son were listening, smiling at the stories he loved so much. On the long drives, he began to pretend that Charlie was with him, sitting in the passenger seat, just as he had always wished. He spoke aloud, recounting the sights and sounds of the road, and it brought him comfort. He could feel Charlie's presence, especially when fatigue set in, and the road grew long. It was as if Charlie were there, nudging him awake, keeping him safe. Years passed, but the pain of losing Charlie never truly faded. On what would have been Charlie's birthdays, his father would talk to him as though he were still growing up, imagining the advice he'd give and the milestones they would celebrate together. It was his way of keeping Charlie alive, even in memory. Then, one day, everything changed. Charlie's father was driving his truck on a familiar route when disaster struck. A sudden accident left him critically injured. As paramedics worked to save him, he found himself drifting between life and death. In that hazy space, he saw a dark figure standing before him, a tall, hooded figure holding a scythe. The Grim Reaper, the harbinger of death, had come for him. The Reaper's presence was ominous, his dark robe flowing like shadows, his scythe gleaming with a cold, metallic edge. But there was someone else there, too. A young man, strong and healthy, with a face full of love. It was Charlie, no longer the sickly child he remembered, but a vibrant, healthy young man. Despite the years that had passed, the father recognized his son instantly, his heart swelling with emotion. "Father," Charlie said softly, his voice filled with warmth. "It's not your time yet. You have to pull through. I'm still here with you, and I always will be." Charlie's father's heart swelled with emotion. He had always felt Charlie's presence, but seeing him now, standing strong and whole, filled him with a deep sense of peace. "I never got to say goodbye," Charlie continued, "but I never left your side. I've been with you on every journey, just as you always imagined. Thank you for keeping me alive in your thoughts." Tears filled the father's eyes as he reached out to his son. "Are you okay, son?" he whispered. "I'm more than okay," Charlie replied, his smile gentle and reassuring. "I'm healthy, and I'm happy. There's no more pain, no more suffering. I've been with you through every story you've shared, every conversation you've had with me. I was there. I've traveled every mile alongside you, experiencing all the things I ever dreamed of. Most of all, I cherished every moment spent with you. I've never left your side. I just wanted to finally tell you, to hug you, and to let you know that I'll always be here, with you." Charlie stepped forward, wrapping his arms around his father. It was a moment of pure, unconditional love. The embrace felt real, as though they were both alive, holding each other in a world that transcended life and death. They held on for a long time, neither wanting to let go, both savoring the connection they had missed for so long. "I love you, Dad," Charlie said softly, "and I'll always be by your side. But you have to keep going. Mom needs you." His father nodded, his heart full of love and sorrow. "I'll keep going, son. For you and for her." The Grim Reaper, standing silently in the background, never uttered a word. He understood the bond between father and son, and allowed them this moment of connection. They all had an unspoken understanding of his role, and it was through the Reaper's presence that Charlie was able to stay in this realm, to take care of his father, and let him know they would see each other again. As Charlie and the Reaper began to fade, Charlie's father felt a deep sense of peace. He had been given a gift, a chance to see his son, to know that he was okay, and to say goodbye. The paramedics managed to revive him, and he survived the accident. As he lay in the hospital recovering, he knew that Charlie was still with him. The encounter had brought him a peace he hadn't felt in years, knowing that one day, when the Reaper returned, he would be reunited with his son. Until then, he would live his life in a way that honored the memory of the boy he loved so dearly. The end.